Now, would you rather live in Vietnam now, with all the mod cons and everything we enjoy, international food, or 20 years ago when it was obviously a bit sleepier, a bit more rustic, quieter? What would you rather, now or 20 years ago?
Now.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Why?
I think I talked a lot today about just like being present. So the past is cool to look at, reflect on, be aware of, but yeah,
nice.
moving on.
I like that answer.
I would say now.
Yeah.
And you know why? Because now it's always the best time.
I like that you're French. You're so philosophical. The French people are like, they have the philosophical nature ingrained into them.
Don't believe that.
No?
No, don't believe that. It's not true.
I think so, because you learn philosophy a lot more, I think, right, in school? Or am I just being completely stereotypical?
It's different. The study are different, of course, than America and Europe. For example, in philosophy, doesn't mean exactly the same thing. The course in America and in Europe, philosophy is more coming from the Greek and all the in America, when you say you study philosophy, it's more sociology or psychology. I think.
Okay.
That's a good question. I was thinking about that, and I can see the perks of both. But maybe I love Vietnam so much because of the internet. I'm not sure, and coffee. So I'll just go with now. But I would like to travel back here 20 years ago and just kind of experience it. But I don't know if I would like it. Yeah.
If I had been a rich person in life, I would love to have been here 20 years ago and bought an apartment in District 1, because by now, I and all of my future offspring would probably have retired. But no regrets. I love being here right now. It just feels like anything is possible across all of Vietnam. And the people are just so positive for the future right now that it feels pretty special.
At my age currently, I think I would have preferred living in Vietnam 20 years ago. I think there are a lot of gems that hadn't been discovered yet and still quite well preserved. And I think that's really what makes Vietnam special. And however, with the new age culture that we have here on the rise with globalization, and then the younger generation, right, they're just adding to the richness of our culture in Vietnam. And that's pretty awesome as well. But I think I'm just getting old and grumpy, and I don't like a lot of noise or stimulus.
Well, if you don't like a lot of noise, then don't live in Saigon. It's the loudest place on earth.
Oh my gosh. Is it because of the vehicles?
Everything, the construction, the bap Saudi, the energy, the craziness. Sometimes I swear to God, I think there's people in Cambodia going, "What's that noise?" And it's like, just Saigon.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. A lot of my friends who are Viet Kieu or expats who have a connection to Vietnam would actually, when we talk about moving home, would rather live in Singapore or Hong Kong and then come back every few weeks and do business in Vietnam.
Wow. Because of the craziness, like the noise and...
Yeah.
It is really difficult. There was a thing in the news a couple of years ago, and I don't know if anything changed from it, but the authorities were recognizing that the noise pollution is having a massively detrimental effect on people's mental health. And a couple of years ago, we moved to Tao Dien, which, as you probably know, is like the kind of expat district. And District 2. And that literally, I probably couldn't live in Vietnam still if we hadn't moved here, because it is quieter. There isn't crazy construction. Like our last place in Phu Nhan, we had the Bap Saudi guy going underneath our window at 3 a.m. Like you'd wake up in the middle of the night, and if you could hear him go by, you'd be like, all right, it must be about 2 o'clock right now. And if you couldn't hear him, you're like, okay, it must be after 3. Like you could tell the time by things like that. We've had a place, we lived in District 4, there was construction at 1 a.m, which is meant to stop at I think 9, but they don't care. So they're like building a skyscraper or another tower behind our apartment at 1 a.m. So things like that, it does have a detrimental effect on your mental health, not just for expats, for local people as well. But we had moving out to District 2 has been absolutely crucial to us living in Vietnam for this amount of time. So it's interesting you say even for Viet Qs and whatnot. I was going to ask, you're born in Vietnam, but you've spent a lot of time overseas. Do you call yourself a Viet Q, or is there a different phrase? How does that work?
I call myself a lot of the time a Viet Mất Gốc, which means like a Vietnamese person that lost their roots. But it's like an internal joke with a bunch of like, Viet Kieu kids. But I think it's more of a label that we give ourselves for other Vietnamese people in Vietnam to kind of understand our background, because it's just way too complicated to explain what I had already explained to you right earlier in our conversation. So it's just kind of easier, and you like avoid questions and judgment if you just say, yeah, I'm a Viet Kieu.
Now, I think 20 years ago, it would have been a lot more difficult to fit in, although you can get a head start on a lot of things. But I think now is just, has all the right sort of ingredients to what I want in like a city life. But yeah, I think now.
Wow, that's an interesting question, actually. Because let me put it this way. I love all the developments and all the changes that have come to Saigon. But the beautiful thing about it is if I want to get that experience of having that so many years ago, Saigon or Vietnam, I can go to a different city. So I can have it both ways. But I love what is happening, especially in Saigon. The development has been crazy. If you've been here 10 years, if I took a picture of 10 years ago, and show you some of the streets now, you won't even know. There's no similarity. It's been changed so much. The growth here it's crazy.
Even has anyone ever said 20 years ago? Like that's my first. Obviously now that's where I would live. But
I think Mine said 20 years ago his episode's coming up.
Yeah, because how old is he? He wants to be young. 9. Yeah, he wants to be 9 again. No, pretty much. He wants to be 8 years old again. No, I definitely would. I am enjoying the time that I'm in Vietnam in this time period.
I'm on the fence because we've moved here, so same as you, 5 years ago, and the development in 5 years ago has just gone through the roof. And I don't just mean like structurally, like the development of the cuisine, and I mean Western cuisine, but that's Vietnamese people are enjoying that. It's not for expats or immigrants, it's for Vietnamese people. Cocktail bars, craft beer, the development of the country as a whole. So there's a romantic notion of me that would really have liked to have been here like 10, 20 years ago and saw before there was Grab on every corner, before there was Grab delivery, before there was all these craft beers. Like Misha Smith, who, happy birthday, Misha, if you listened. It was his birthday last night. When he first came here before Pasteur Street developed, which was the first craft beer, he was saying that getting a Heineken was like a treat.
Really?
Yeah, because that was the only beer. That was like a fancy European beer, was getting a Heineken. And even that, there was only 1 or 2 bars that you could get that in.
Oh, shit. Okay.
So even though I love my craft beer and I love my food and all of this, there's a romantic notion of me that would like to go back and see what it was like when you just didn't have those options. You didn't have all the nice restaurants to eat at. You didn't have the nice beer to drink. Didn't have Grab delivery on tap. And just obviously as well, not as many buildings, a bit sleeper, a bit quiet. But then at the same time, I love all of those things as well. So I'm kind of on the fence a bit with that.
Yeah. There are some comforts that have popped up in the past 5 years. Like, oh yeah, thanks God. Yeah. Like I feel cheese. Yeah.
When we first came here 5 years ago, people were telling us we asked someone what should we bring or what will we miss the most if we move to Vietnam, and they were like cheese. It's really difficult to get cheese here, and it's not difficult. It is expensive though, cheese here. So you don't eat it that often because it's all imported. Yeah. But it is easily available now. Whereas I think like 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years ago, like cheese, yogurt, milk, like dairy products weren't even like available.
Yeah, and that's definitely a status symbol here in Vietnam. Like you see somebody out in the park eating cheese, like, oh wow, okay, I didn't know you were doing that well. All right, good for you. You know,
never mind the Porsche. If they're eating cheese, they're doing well.
I do wonder, because you mentioned things like in the Western countries you have like Little Italy, Little China. I wonder if Vietnamese, like the Vietnamese people, ever call like Thao Dien or like Tay Ho like Little Europe. You know,
yeah.
Like I'm going to Little Italy. You know, on Swansea.
Yeah, that's a good point. I wonder they should start that. Yeah, called Thao Dien Little Europe now.
Yeah, French Quarter. You know?
Yeah, there you go. The French Quarter. That's true. Yeah, that's for sure.
I think, well, because the question was like Saigon 20 years ago. I think 20 years ago at the moment is like 2001, which is crazy to think about it. I think at that point I was like 5 years old. I think I barely had any like living memory then, you know, like being 5 years old. Yeah, and you know, like especially I had a pretty comfortable, even like back in 2001, I had a pretty comfortable, relatively comfortable childhood, a pretty comfortable upbringing. You know. Things were still, things were still chaotic. But at the same, but I think, you know, the idea, but just me, like being a 20-something person, educated 20 person living in Saigon in 2001, I think be a very different dynamic, you know, compared to living in Saigon now. Essentially, it was just 10 years into opening up to, essentially 10 years up opening up to the world. There was still a lot of difficulties and challenges. And I think imagine myself working in Vietnam, like 2001. I think it would have been very different. It would be something quite interesting challenge, but the center of opportunities, because everything was so new and raw. You know, the internet just came to Vietnam at that point, so that's an avenue to. So there's something to explore and something to invest in, you know, just in case. And like even then, like KFC was still considered luxury. KFC was still considered luxury then. I guess, you know, like, I think going back to, I think just having going back to Vietnam in 2001, working as myself, then it would just be quite fun to do.
Yeah, I like the way that's a good way to look at it. It's obviously a different way to look at it for maybe that an expat would look at it or someone else. So, you know, that's interesting.
I would like to see how it was 20 years ago, but I don't think I could live in Vietnam 20 years ago.
I think everyone has said the same answer, and I'm the same. I'd love to see what it was like.
You know, think about all the opportunities and like with technology, what we can do now. You know, rent apartments over Facebook, or just order food delivery or Grab. You know, this 20 years ago, I don't know how I would have done it.
Actually, I think every time has a very interesting character. I think I don't know, like I live now, so of course I just live it because I adapt to the time. But I'm also really interested what it would have been like 20 years ago, you know? I was here already 20 years ago because I was 11, so yeah.
19.
19. Yeah, and I couldn't really say because I was very young and I didn't really understand the culture that much. So it was very interesting for me. But I think my age now, living 20, I would, yeah, for sure. Why not? Like riding buffaloes and stuff. I was doing that when I came to Vietnam the first time, you know, and like chilling, like rice fields and houses were much less developed. But I think, yeah, why not? Less pollution, maybe, you know, less bikes. I think Vietnam probably was very different, and every new development was probably much more appreciated than now. I think it's growing so fast. So I think every time has like a beautiful thing. But of course, I'm super happy to be here now. Like let's not put it wrong.
It's a difficult question, right? People have very similar answers to you when I ask this question.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you're like me, you may use your laptop at places where you have to use public Wi-Fi. This opens you up to digital snoopers. It's a massive problem. It can be your internet service provider, or you know who, looking at what you do online, or a cyber criminal trying to steal your bank passwords or credit card info, or even a hacker at the next table trying to steal your sensitive data. These days, it is vital that you keep your data safe. NordVPN keeps all of these snoopers away. It makes your internet activity private, protects you from accessing dangerous websites that are phishing for your data, and lets you enjoy your favorite content securely, even while away from home. And it's easy to use, even I could use it. I've actually been using NordVPN for years now here in Vietnam, and I'm excited to be an affiliate partner with them. I've used NordVPN to watch Netflix, BBC, Disney Plus with ease, and I also know that my information and data are safe from prying eyes, whoever they may be. Join now and you'll get 68% off and 3 months free when you go to my link, nordvpn.com/SMB. Just again, for those hard of hearing, nordvpn.com/SMB. The link is also in the show notes. I know nobody checks them out, but go check that out and you can get the link from wherever you're listening to this podcast. As an affiliate partner, it also means that I will get a small commission when you sign up, but at no extra cost to you. So not only will you be getting a great deal through 7 Million Bikes, you get a great VPN and you'll be supporting 7 Million Bikes podcast. Stay safe online and enjoy the shows you love. Any questions, just let me know. You know how to get in touch with me. And thanks for listening to this show. Cheers.